Let's talk about the most recent announcement. You're expanding internationally as tensions with the US regulators grow. Coinbase has just announced an international crypto derivatives exchange. Walk me through the strategic rationale. How is this going to work?
Yeah, so again, the mission at Coinbase is to increase economic freedom in the world. We think crypto is the most important technology to do that. And so that means we need to be doing that globally. Everybody in the world can benefit from this technology. And so although we started in the US, we're now live in a number of different markets around the world. And so there's been a big focus for us on international expansion in the Western Hemisphere.
And the majority of that is because the US does not have clear regulations. So therefore him and the XRP CEO are going overseas and trying to get these partnerships going until the US, I believe, starts puts out some clear regulations and guidelines in which these companies are to follow.
We've done that, of course, in the US. We've done it with a license that we've gotten in Bermuda to serve other regions there. But in this region of the world where I am here today in Dubai, we feel that the UAE is a really important hub that we can invest in to serve this region of the world, the Middle East, Africa, even India, where there's a major remittance corridor. And so I think the UAE deserves a lot of credit for their commitment to crypto regulation. They're putting out a clear rule book. They even have a
clear rule book in which the U.S. does not currently have. Of course, the UAE, the Middle East, and all these other countries over there, they're a little lax on their regulations and bringing money in. So I think because the U.S. is slow, so a lot of companies, that's what even FTX was doing before it collapsed, is just that when you don't have clear regulations, you have to go overseas in order to make the business continue to run. So, and that's what the Coinbase CEO and the XRP CEO is doing over there.
Dedicated regulator that's specific to crypto called DVARA here in Dubai. And I think they deserve a ton of credit for being both business forward, embracing this technology and its potential, but also putting out clear rules to protect consumers. So that's very attractive to us as a US company to come invest here.
Would Coinbase ever move overseas if Congress and regulators in the United States can't provide clear rules of the road?
Well, honestly, I don't think that, before you even answers, I don't even think that Coinbase would leave the U.S. and go overseas, have their headquarters overseas. But it's just that the U.S. is slow in these regulations, but it's slow because it's not clear. However, they're going to get to the point where, where customer confidence is going to be at an all-time high once these regulations or guidelines are introduced by the U.S. government. So I know he didn't answer yet, but the truth is it's a no.
It seems as if you have a big issue with regulation stateside right now.
So Coinbase is not going to relocate overseas. I mean, we're always going to have a U.S. presence, and I can talk a bit about some of the efforts that we're making there to get regulatory clarity in the U.S. But the U.S. is a little bit behind right now, I would say. We're seeing more thoughtful approaches. For instance, in the EU, they've actually already passed comprehensive crypto legislation. The UK has been incredibly welcoming and for us there, and that's been a hub where we've decided to serve the UK market. And now I think with the UAE, we're very interested in looking at this space as well. I mean, this is my first trip to the UAE, by the way. I'm here to learn and listen and meet with the relevant regulators, both in Abu Dhabi and here in Dubai, and decide if this is a good place for us to serve a large region of the world.
So walk me through what you would like to see from regulators in the US. As you say, the United States has perhaps been falling behind when it comes to cryptocurrency regulation and the definition of cryptocurrencies. What do you need to see from the regulator in order to continue to have your business function as a going concern?
Yeah, well, in the US, what we'd really like to see is a clear rule book. That's how it should work. The regulator should publish a clear rule book. The companies should be expected to follow it. Right now, there's not a clear rule book in the US, and in the absence of that clarity, Coinbase has really showed a lot of good faith effort to do the right thing and introduce the right kind of controls and audits that we believe protect consumers. We shared all of this with the SEC when we were thinking about becoming a public company, and they allowed us to become a public company with full knowledge of how our business operates. Really, nothing has changed since we've done that. And so we still believe that we're operating in a fully compliant manner. And by the way, I should say most of the U.S., the people that I meet with in Congress, the other federal regulator, the CFTC, even the White House and others, they're actually quite positive. I think the broad consensus view in the U.S. government is that there should be a clear rule book, and this is going to require new legislation from Congress. The SEC is a bit of an outlier here. There's kind of a lone crusade, if you will, with Gary Gensler, the chair there. And he has taken a more anti-crypto view for some.
And a lot of people really don't like Gary Gensler because of that, because when he was a professor at school, in the university that he was teaching at, he believed, he had a different understanding, or he believed things to be different. But once he got the job at the SEC, he went, it seems like he is anti-crypto, right? So therefore, once he got the job, a lot of people would assume that, okay, well, this is going to be great for crypto, and it was quite the opposite. But there's a lot of lawsuits that the SEC has introduced about these shady companies, right? But it's all because they're not protecting the consumer. So that's why all these other shadow companies, all these other scam coins could come into place, because there's no rules to follow. So therefore, the customers are not protected, and the crypto companies, they can't move forward. It's like they're being blocked from really providing the needed services to the people.
For some reason, I don't think he's necessarily trying to regulate the industry as much as maybe curtail it, but he's created some lawsuits, and I think it's quite unhelpful for the industry in the U.S. writ large, but it also is an opportunity for Coinbase to go get that clarity from the courts that we feel will really benefit the crypto industry and also the U.S. more broadly.
Listen.
So I'm asking you to speak to a second one, the second largest market cap here.
And speaking to the tokens, there's 10 to 12,000. If there's a group of entrepreneurs in the
asking
middle,
about one.
The public is anticipating a profit based on the...
I'm asking you a specific question, Chair Gensler. I said this in private. This should be no shock to you. I'm asking this question. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
And again, it depends on the facts and the law, and if there's a group of individuals...
I'm asking you about the facts and the law sitting in your seat and the judgment you are making.
McHenry accused Gensler of refusing to provide clarity to crypto firms on what constitutes a security contract, saying he's punishing companies for not complying with the law but aren't providing clear rules of the road. Appearing for the first time before this GOP-led panel, the SEC chair pushed back and defended the agency's approach.
It's not a matter of lack of clarity. I think this is a field that, in the main, has built up around non-compliance, and that's their business model. And they have chosen, even though it's not the law, they've chosen to be non-compliant and not provide investors with confidence, protections.
He just said, even though it's not the law, even though they don't have clear regulations, but they're not compliant. He doesn't make any sense. But that's Gary Gensler. If there is no law, then what are the people to follow?
And it undermines the $100 trillion capital markets.
Gensler has said nothing about the crypto markets is incompatible with current securities laws and reiterated that the vast majority of crypto are securities. He says it's, quote, the law. It's not a choice. Calling yourself a DeFi platform is not an excuse to defy securities laws.